And then next time, you should have Morgan on too. He'll have a totally different take and spin
Okay.
on
That'd be fun.
probably even opposite answers to whatever I give you.
It's nice getting the teams.
Yeah.
So before we get into that, because I do want to talk about the team, what did you do, like you're born and raised here.
Uh-huh.
What did you do before getting into real estate? Or did you just go right in from...
So actually I was a model scout before real estate. Yeah.
What's a model scout?
So
Like you
I
scout
worked
models?
Yeah. So I worked for a company to where they flew me all over the country.
Like Ford Robert Black kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I worked for Ford. I worked for Next, Click, Elite. You know, all of them. Basically, this was like a middleman company that had relationships and contracts and partnerships with all the, MTV, Disney, like all the production studios and whatnot. And then they would
right out of college?
It was pretty much right out of college. Like I did like a marketing internship for a local advertising company here, and then my girlfriend and I broke up, and I was like, "Get me the heck out of Arizona. What can I do?" I wanted something different. I just wanted to kind of be, and I went on Monster at the time and found this job, and I was like, "Oh, I should interview for that. Like that sounds pretty cool. I'll go. Let me go find out. Let me get some more information." So went and interviewed, and I got the job even though I had no experience whatsoever. I guess they saw that I had eyeballs and could talk to people, and so they said, "Okay, you're hired." And the funny thing is that for the first few months of the job, I was supposed to be in the office here in Scottsdale, just learning all the ropes. But within like the first week, they called me. I'm driving into the office at like 8:00 in the morning. And they call me as I'm driving in, and they said, "Turn around, go home, pack your bag. Your flight leaves for Vegas in like 2 hours. You're catching a flight to Vegas to do like some open calls."
Wow.
And my heart is just racing. I could feel my pulse in my neck just like, And so I ran home, packed my bag, and I was meeting the owner of the company because he was out because all the other scouts were stuck in a snowstorm and they couldn't get to Vegas, and we had these huge open calls. And I think they were at the Flamingo at the time that had to be taken care of. Otherwise, I was just, you can't turn all these people away.
Right.
And so flew in, and the owner just kind of taught me the ropes right away. It was like, "Hey, this is what we're looking for. Like, this is, it was, and basically what we were doing is we were trying to, I think that night we saw, gosh, probably 1,000 people. No exaggeration. Like probably 1,000 people came through, and we interviewed all these people over like 5 hours.
What was it for?
And well, it was for all these different companies because, like I said, they're the middleman. The idea is that you basically cut out like 95% of the people and get it down to the top 5%, and then those 5%, you basically get them in front of all these different management companies, and then they interview them to see if they'd be a good fit. So
you're filtering them out.
Like almost no different than like a Tom Ferry event where a lot of people show up, and same thing. It was like an event to where they could all show up and interview at the same time with 50 different companies all in one place instead of having to drive and fly to LA, New York, Chicago, Miami.
Yeah.
All these agents, we'd fly them all in to these events, and then
Smart.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
and then
pretty
they
cool.
interview them, find new talent, and then we'd go out on the road and do it again.
How long did you do that for?
For a full year, and then by the end of the year, I was burned out. I was
from the travel or from the
travel.
Or?
From the travel. I was on the road for 28 days a month.
Wow.
And what was cool is that for the 2 days off, they'd fly you anywhere you wanted to go. So sometimes I'd come back here just to visit and hang out. And then other times I'd be like, fly me to Manhattan or fly me to Miami or fly me to, and I'd go spend a couple days there. So
dude, that's, fresh out of college, good looking guy. I'm going to do interviews for models. Like,
it was amazing. Okay. Yeah. And it wasn't this like sleazy model scout where like you go up to people in a mall and say, "Hey, I think you're pretty. Like you'd be great." It was, we sat at a table and they came to us, and all we had to do is go through and have a conversation with each person and see if they had any experience, and if so, what that looked like. A lot of times they'd bring their portfolios and whatnot. But it was fun. I met a lot of people along the way, and it was a great way to end a relationship.
It's true.
One door closes, another one opens.
Job.
Yeah, so it was great.
So was it right from there you were like, "Hey, I'm going to get into real estate," or how did it even come about?
No, so then I was home after scouting for about a year, and I was playing basketball, and this guy I played basketball with, Alan Zell, who owns Zell Commercial. Well, he's recently sold it, but they actually did commercial, so strip centers. So they had, you probably recognize the red signs on like every commercial strip center out there. but he said, "Hey, Josh, go get your license, come work for me." And I said, "Okay." Like,
Yeah.
once again, didn't really know what it was going to entail, but saw an opportunity and jumped on it. And that was awesome because he basically taught me the ropes. I ran into him a few years ago at a D-backs game and stopped and talked to him for a bit. And I said, "Hey, look, you're the reason why I'm so successful today is because of everything that you poured into me at that time." And,
How cool is that?
I was young and dumb and, was trying to be a sponge and soak up as much as I could. But at the same time, I didn't know what I was doing. So, but tried to learn as much as I possibly could. And
So
then
you got into commercial first.
I got in commercial first. So this was back in like 2004. And then, this is right as the residential boom started really taking off. And so then after a year of working in commercial, I saw Morgan and a bunch of my other buddies who were in residential just crushing it and making a lot of money. So I quickly pivoted and said, "Alan, thank you so much." But I moved out of commercial, went into residential, and thank God I did because that was probably the best move for me.
That was good timing too.
Great timing because I think the commercial guys had a really hard time when the market crashed. Back in, at least with us, we had short sales, we had all these other things. I think the commercial guys got hit really hard. I think a lot of them left
There
the
wasn't
business.
a big pivot there. You just you're out.
And exactly. And I think I think commercial real estate is really tough because you're so dependent on a handful of deals. Where at least in residential, if someone wants to buy or sell, there's a 90% chance they're going to buy or sell. In some way.
The thought of it like that.
Yeah. So like, if someone's determined to move here to Arizona, sure, they might go into a rental for a little bit, but at some point in time, they're going to buy something.
Right.
If you're a commercial investor or owner, you don't have to sell a lot of times. It's very rare that you're forced into selling. A lot of times it's just a choice. Like, oh, I think I'm going to sell.
Yeah.
And some sellers decide that they're going to take their deals off the table. But in residential, like I said, if you want to sell, most likely you're selling. Mm-hmm. You're going to sell your property. It's rare for someone to pivot and decide that they're going to do something different or stay put.
Right. Now you knew Morgan before getting into it.
Correct. So we met in real estate. So when Alan told me to go get my real estate license, and that was once again January, I guess, of 2003. December of 2003, maybe January of 2004. And we met, I think it was end of December that we met in real estate school. And then I went to commercial for that year. But Morgan and I, we were friends by that point in time because we met in real estate school. We started hanging out during that time, started going out to the bars in Old Town and whatnot.
Nice.
And then he was just keeping me updated on the residential market. And finally I was like, "Hey, look, I'm thinking about switching out of commercial. Would you be up for partnering up?" And
oh, so you just partnered right away?
We partnered right away.
So you never were a solo residential agent?
No, because once again, I realized that I probably wouldn't survive as a solo because I didn't know I didn't know anything. Mm-hmm. And so at least he had been in it for a year, and he had at least had a year of experience, which once again isn't really a lot in this business. I think in order to have a lot of experience, it's typically at least 5 years in the business to really be able to say that you have a hold on the market and you know what you're doing. So we always kind of joke it was like the blind leading the blind. It was like two
get a year head start,
super unexperienced agents that were probably very confident and maybe even a little cocky and thought that we knew more than other people. And then when you realize, years later and you look back and you're like, "Oh my God, I knew nothing." Like I'm way more humble now than I ever was 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's good. So how'd you guys start off? So you partnered up, but where were you getting your
partnered
business
up? Just 50-50. A lot of it was friends, family, a lot of SOI deals. Just your sphere. And
is he born and raised here too?
No, he's from Utah.
Okay,
but
how long had he been here before getting into real estate?
He was here for a few years, so he had a few friends here.
Okay,
and I had a large group of friends here, so like and then that grew, and we had, I don't know, probably 50 to 100 friends that were all young in their mid-20s looking to start buying properties. And so pretty much everyone we worked with was either a renter or a first-time home buyer. Mm-hmm. Very, very few second home buyers in the beginning.
Not a lot of move-ups.
Not a lot of move-ups, yeah. At that age group, correct.
And sphere, yeah.
And I think they would work with us because, once again, we didn't know anything and they didn't know that we didn't know anything.
know.
I mean, they knew that we were newer in the business, but they also didn't know what they didn't know. And we didn't know what we didn't know. And so it was a great
talked
partnership.
confidently enough that they were like, yeah, we trust
Sure.
you.
And I think when it comes to buying properties, there's less, and especially back in the day when the seller, or when the listing agent paid the buyer's commission, I think buyers were more open to, oh yeah, hey, if you can show me properties,
True.
and yeah, I'd be happy to work with you. Now they're a little bit more selective because they may have to pay the compensation, and so interviewing various real estate agents might be more important to them now. But back in the day, I think it was just like, hey, if you've got a heartbeat and you can fog a mirror, so let's get in a car and yeah, you can be my real estate agent.
That's how the mortgages were too. You can fog a mirror.
Yeah. So, but it worked out. I mean, we learned a lot from that, and I think that we did a really good job because we realized, we wanted to do a great job for our clients, and we just realized we didn't know a lot, so we were always learning. And we had some good initial kind of mentors. Like I said, I was with Alan over in the commercials. So I was dealing with contracts that were 80 pages long versus, back in the day, they were only like 8 pages.
Right.
And so I actually had a lot of great experience that way, how to write contracts, how to make sure that you were legally doing everything the right way, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. So when it came to the paperwork, I felt like I was pretty flawless there because of all that commercial experience that I had. But as far as, I mean, there's so many different terms and clauses and everything else that we put into contracts now that we weren't necessarily doing back in the day either. It also
helped a lot.
Yeah, it also helped that it was a super hot buyer's market at the time too. So, I mean, we, sometimes it's better to be lucky than smart, I guess, or, and so we a lot of luck kind of played along,
Yeah.
the way. So
did you know, because if I fast forward today, you have a very large team. At what point did you two say, hey, we want to mentor and bring on other agents to our team?
I think it was about 10 years ago. So about 10 years into being licensed agents, we got to a point to where we had an assistant already, and our business had already doubled just by hiring that assistant. Great. And then we got to a point to where we had so many leads coming in, and we couldn't possibly handle all of the leads, which is a great problem to have, right?
All from Sphere, or did you then?
No. These were online.
Avenues?
So we started working online leads about 15 years ago.
Okay.
And which is great because we got to cut our teeth on working online leads and feel like probably we were ahead of the game than most agents were. But we had so many online leads coming in because our website, and even still to this day, ranks organically as one of the top residential real estate agent. Like if you Google Scottsdale real estate agent, our website usually populates on the first page of Google just organically. Awesome. And so we spent a lot of time just, pouring into our website and making sure that it would organically rank high. And we got a lot of phone calls from that. And
that's great.
So a lot of inbound, a lot of outbound.
And then that spurred the need for, hey, we need agents.
Yeah, bringing on. And so we brought on one agent. More as like a trial run. Hey, let's just even see, how this works. And he was an experienced agent, so it was good to start off with someone who was experienced. Mm-hmm. And his business doubled within those first 12 months of being on our team. Yeah.
Wow.
He was consistently doing, I think, right around like $3 million on average a year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but back then it was. And his business went from 3 to over 6 in those 12 months that he was with us. Yeah, which was awesome. He's not still with us, but actually we've been talking over the last few weeks, and he is interested in exploring what that would look like again.
Oh, cool.
So, and not even from us pursuing him, but more just a mutual, I mean, we're friends too. So just out of a mutual, hey, he's gotten to a point to where he maybe wants a little bit more support. And so he's like, hey, maybe this would be a good fit again.
Yeah. So as you had proof of concept with him doing that, is that when you guys said, hey, let's add some more?
Correct. And it just kind of organically grew. We weren't intentional about seeking other real estate agents, but all of our top agents right now, or I shouldn't say all, but a lot of our top agents right now actually came from 8, 9, 10 years ago.
Wow.
as some of our first agents.
That's cool.
And it was just by chance. We had one agent, Tony, who called us up out of the blue and said, "Hey, look, I'm looking to hold an open house. Can I, hold one of your listings open?" And I said, "Well, why don't you come in and talk to us? We're actually looking for another agent." And he had a great phone voice. I was like, this guy would be incredible on the phone. And he was a bartender, full-time bartender at the time, looking to transition eventually out of bartending. And we quickly got him out of bartending, and he now sells well over 10 million each and every year, and has been for the last couple of years. So he's out there crushing it. And we have multiple stories of like that, where it just kind of, once again, just luck. The stars aligned, and it just all kind of happened the way that it was meant to happen.
I just like the organic growth of the team.
Yeah,
right?
Super organic. Now we're a little bit more intentional about having these conversations, and
what was the change there that made it more of a
few different things. So we've always been growing, because Morgan and I are huge into the growth mindset. Like, you can always grow, you can always get better. Like, there's no reason, if you're not growing, you're dying, sort of thing, or you're stagnant, which no one wants to be stagnant. And we've realized by growing a few things. One, if any of our systems break, we can figure out how it broke and what can we do to make it better. But number two, that through the growth, only good, positive things have happened. Like, nothing negative, nothing bad has happened from growing. Like, we've had team members who have formed great relationships with other team members. We've had team members that have joined our team that have brought amazing new ideas, to us and to other team members. There's been more listings to hold open. There's been, it's just been a good kind of a sharing of knowledge. And
it's like a compound effect.
It is, but it's really funny is that even though our team has grown, and I'd say we're probably a mid-sized team, but it feels like a small kind of family.
That's cool.
It still feels like a boutique.
How many do you have right now?
We have about 35 agents on our team, 15 producers, and then the other 20 are part-time agents or maybe even like newer agents in the business that are just kind of kicking off and looking to grow their business. And so with the part-time agents, they typically have their license and they only want to sell to friends and family, and they trip into a couple deals here and there. Mm-hmm. They're not actively out looking to grow their business. It's more of just like a kind of like a side hustle for them.
Right.
Typically they have either another full-time job, or they have a spouse at home that works full-time, and they don't really need to do this, but they enjoy doing it every once in a while. And I think the team is a great place for them, because when they get a deal under contract and they need help, we're there to help them and support them, and make sure that they don't do anything to lose their license or get sued or do anything that could potentially.
It's changing so fast.
Yeah. So exactly, and the documents are always changing, and obviously with everything with the NAR lawsuits and everything else, so many things are changing, and it's hard to keep up sometimes. Mm-hmm. If you're a part-time agent, I think that you'd be doing yourself a disservice and your clients a disservice if you're not on a team where you have that support.
Yeah. And
so, there's things for full-time agents, there's things for part-time agents on our team. I think everyone kind of has it's a good fit for everyone. Mm-hmm. And that's how we designed our team. Like, some teams design it to where they only want Navy SEALs, and that's their avatar. And then other teams do it where they want everybody. And we're kind of somewhere in the middle, where we don't take everyone on our team. We want to make sure it's going to be a great fit for them and for us, and that it's a win-win, where they're happy, we're happy, and at the end of the year, they're making more money with us than they would be on their own.
What's some of those characteristics that you're looking for?
We want people that are, number one, positive, no negative Nancys whatsoever on our team. We just want people that are really good energy, just good, positive people that bring energy to the team instead of suck it out. That's the number one requirement. We will not take a single person if we get any sort of inkling that they're just not going to fit that mold. Mm-hmm. And then number two, ideally someone who wants to be productive. Because once again, we want to be able to help people and pour into them. And so if we can help them grow their business and grow their wealth, then we feel fulfilled and that we're doing our part. Those are really productive and positive are like the two main requirements. Everything else just kind of comes down to, just kind of like a feeling, I guess. When you sit down and you look them in the eyes and you are talking across the table with them, if it's, you kind of know, like, this is going to work out really well and this is going to be a great partnership. I've even talked to a lot of agents on the phone where I'm like, this person's awesome. Like, we have to have this person on our team.
Nice. Do you guys have a process, meaning, someone else talks to them first, or someone else has to talk to them after you talk to them, or they interview with the team? Like, is there any process to that?
We do. Probably the biggest step in that initial process is that we provide them with all the information about the team and about Real, so that they can, because we want them to do their research first. So we always tell everyone, hey, look, Google us, do your research. Here's 10 different links of, information about the team, our different social media platforms, our reviews. Like, we want them to really understand what our team is all about. We provide them with all the team splits, everything we provide, all of our marketing, everything like that. And then after they've had a chance to read over everything, then we ask them if they would like to have get on a quick call.
Oh, cool. The calls with
Morgan or myself.
Okay.
So, if they've reviewed everything and they think that it won't be a great fit, then it is what it is, and we all go our separate ways, and no big deal.
Filter.
Exactly, it's a filter. But if they've read through everything and they think that, hey, this sounds amazing, this sounds like a great opportunity, then we'll take the next step and get on a call with them.
Okay.
And
Zoom or phone?
We've done both.
Okay.
Phone tends to work out a little bit better because everyone's kind of busy. I mean, I might be driving in between appointments.
Right.
But usually it's about a 15 to 30-minute conversation, and we answer all their questions. We start diving into like their background and what they're all about. What they're looking for is most important. And then once again, it's more about just having that 30-minute conversation to hear in their voice if this is going to be a good fit or not.
And see what feeling you get from it.
And see what feeling, correct.
Yep.
And then the next step would be to have them come in person and then meet everyone, like Morgan, Dana, Aubrey. Like, there's so many different parts of the team that we want them to meet everyone. But there are other team members that have joined our team where it's like, this person's amazing. Like, we don't even need to do that second interview.
Okay.
And we just know this would be a great fit.
Yeah.
And if that happens, then, that's a good thing too.
I love that there's a process to it.
There is a process. Yeah. We want to make sure that we realized in the beginning that we were spending so much time explaining what we provide, explaining what Real provides. And it was just sucking up our hours and our days and our weeks. And so we're like, okay, we even put together like a frequently asked questions page about Real, a frequently asked questions page about us. So it's like, here you go. Let's answer 95% of your questions. And then if this all looks great, then we'll move on to the next step.
That's nice. Are there any key questions? I heard you say, hey, what's important to you? Is there any other key questions that you're like, I have to ask this during that first 15 to 30-minute conversation that I have with them?
I more want to know, number one, why they want to join a team, like what they're looking for, obviously. But then, number two, where they're struggling.
Okay.
And then number three, honestly, I just want to know more about themselves, like their background, like, married, not married, kids, no kids. Are they born and raised here in Arizona? Or do they move here? And if so, from where? I just kind of want to know more about them because, like I said, our team is more like a small family. And so this isn't just business. This is about growing a relationship.
You need to know some personal stuff.
Yeah, correct. Mm-hmm. And I need them to open up to me. In order for me to ever be able to help them as a leader, I need them to open up to me. And because you can tell there's sometimes people are just closed off and they don't want to share anything. And, once again, probably not going to work out because how can I ever get you to the next level if you're already guarded and shutting down to me. So, but yeah, it's more that initial conversation is to answer all their questions and then also find out more about their background.
That's really good. Well, and that leads to more tenure on the team.
For sure.
They'll just stay longer. They'll have more success.
100%.
And stay longer.
Yeah. And we I guess I kind of think about it. If I can go to lunch with this person, or is this going to be a person that I want to have lunch with? And I would enjoy myself at lunch.
Yeah.
And if at the end of the conversation I realize no, then I wouldn't want to have lunch with this person. They're probably not going to be a good fit.
Then the team's probably not going to want
to Correct. Because we're all the team, even though we're all different ages and come from all different backgrounds, the team, it's just a team of like-minded individuals. And so, people have to be able to fit into that avatar in order to I think really take advantage of the team.
Right. Well, and that you have that filter set up.
100%.
So how, in your day, week, what percentage of your time is there any, personal production versus team versus new agent attraction?
It's about a third.
Okay.
And I've designed my week to look like that, to where I set aside time for the team, whether it's preparing for a team meeting or content for the team or having conversations with team members. And then, so that would be a third. Another third is obviously taking care of my own buyers and sellers, taking care of my own clients, making sure that that's still moving forward. And then maybe not quite a third on recruiting, because we probably have a handful of recruiting calls a week. So maybe it's not quite a third, but I'd say it's
40-40-20.
40-40-20 or 45-45-10, somewhere in there.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm doing some recruiting, Morgan's doing some recruiting, and Dana's obviously there kind of doing things behind the scenes.
Let's talk about personal business. So I always like to talk about playbooks, and you're very systematized with what you're doing.
Yeah,
so
run
if
the plays, all right. I like that sign.
Well, it's one thing to have, but it sounds like you have playbooks.
Yeah.
But it's another thing to execute, which I understand. With your business and how long you've been doing this, you execute at a very high level.
Yeah.
So I want to find out, what are some of the things that you're doing now that you have in place, the systems that you're running for your personal business? Like, what are you doing right now for your sphere? Or what do you do on an annual basis for them?
Yeah. So my own personal plays would be time blocking, I think, is key. Making sure that there's time in every day or week to run the plays, right? Because if you don't have that time, then you're never going to run the plays.
True.
So you got to start somewhere. And that's been huge for me over the last couple of years, is really being intentional about time blocking that into my schedule. And then for my own personal production, as far as what I do with them and for them, it's more about the follow-up, I would say. We always say the fortune is in the follow-up, and sure, you can always have that initial conversation with someone, but if you're never following up with them, if you're never checking in on them, if you're never, making sure that their needs are taken care of, then they're probably not going to use you.
Right.
And so I would say the follow-up is probably some of the most important time I spend every single week. Is just checking in, on my people, on my clients, making sure that they have everything that they need. Because the worst is when they call you up out of the blue. Then I feel I take it personally, like I've dropped the ball.
I dropped the ball.
Like I'm not checking in enough if they're having to reach out to me.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that they're taken care of, even if they're not looking for 6 months.
Yeah.
They might say, hey, look, my timeline is 6 months out. I still want to make sure that they're taken care of every single week. Because you never know when that timeline changes, and a lot of times it does. A lot of times,
cut it in half, because they're
cut it in half. If they say 6 months, they really mean I want to be under contract, within 3 and moved in, by the end of month 4 or 5.
Right. Yes. Let's talk about specifically your closed client database. How do you follow up with them? What's some of that things? Do you have strategic touches for them?
That's honestly probably where we maybe dropped the ball a little bit. And I say that like more as like an embarrassment statement, like that it's just, if there was one part of my business that I could really do better at, it would be at, taking care of my closed clients. Anytime they ever, and once again, I'll do random reach outs to them as well. We're usually Facebook friends. A lot of times, through these transactions, since they are such a intimate transaction, you're spending hours and hours and hours with these people every single week or month, that naturally you become friends just from it. So I've gone to weddings from people that were total strangers and then became close friends, and I've gone to their weddings. We've traveled together. We spent holidays together. I've celebrated, birthdays with them and whatnot. And so, So sometimes there's just a natural kind of follow up there just through the friendship.
It's the other ones that I worry about.
Yeah, correct. It's the other people. And like I said, I think it comes from a place of just, partial regret, partial embarrassment, but I do truly love and like all my clients, and so I feel like it's hard to do everything, and it's hard to be a rock star at every aspect in your business. I think there's potential ways to maybe automate that a little bit more, or like be more intentional by time blocking that into my schedule. But I would say, just from a sheer, humble kind of place that.
Well, let's talk it through. So, like you and I have been to enough events. We've seen enough agents doing stuff. Like, what's something that, obviously they're probably in a CRM getting dripped on, right? I mean, I always say there's a formula of mail, call, visit, email, social media, right? So, do you mail your database at all?
We do. So that they do get monthly updates on their home value, for example. They will get, if they are searching for properties, even if they're a couple months or a couple years out, they still get, the daily or the weekly property searches and whatnot.
Cool.
They do get market updates from us as far as, like we use the Crawford report.
Awesome.
And then we'll make sure that every month we're sending that out. So they're seeing that from us. So they do get some value from us.
Yeah.
I would love to personally,
you seem more of a personal person.
Correct. Like I want to be more like, closer to him, I would say.
Your closing.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
We closed 5 years ago. You've doubled your equity.
Yeah.
Like those kind of calls.
100%. Yep. And, so yes, taking more time to instead of just the email, calling them up and saying, hey, just want to say congratulations. Your home has gone up another $300,000 in value. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you need from me at this time? Like even just HVAC contractors or electricians or anything. Like I always remind my clients, hey, look, anything you need, just let me know. I'll try. If I don't have it, I'll track it down for you.
Right. Yeah. It's my favorite.
Yeah. Because I want them to know that I will take care of them no matter what.
I got a guy.
I got a guy.
Yeah.
You're never bothering me. And sometimes I think our clients think that we are too busy. And I always like to remind them, look, I work 24/7. I have 3 little ones. Sometimes I'm up at all different hours of the night. And so if I respond to you at 4 a.m., just know it's I'm up.
Right.
You're never bothering me.
I've had that struggle too, where they're like, I didn't want to bother you, and I'm like, how do I get around that? And it was me reaching out to them more often that they then knew I was more available.
Correct.
So me saying hey, just seeing if you got the market update in the email, or hey, it's been a year since you closed on your house, or hey, we have this event coming up. Are you coming?
Yep.
It's hard. It's when I brought the database down to be around 400 or 500, it made it more manageable to make more impactful reach outs. Yeah. When it's 1,000, you're like, I can't call that many.
Sure, I can't call that.
Even within a year.
Yeah.
It's just not enough.
I'd love to get it down to 100 people, and just, make it to where I'm touching, a handful every single week. Mm-hmm. That would be nice. But
well, you've heard of the stuff where you do letter of the week.
Oh yeah.
So your admin just hands you everyone with the last name A and says, here you go.
Here you go.
And you call 10 people.
Yeah.
15 people tops.
It's easy. It's easy, and that's the thing. When it comes to phone calls, we do not struggle.
You just need the list.
I just need the list.
And the time block.
And sometimes it's, kind of figuring out what are the best people to call,
maybe that's a project that you say, hey, for 2025, one of the goals is to get more relationship with the database.
Sure.
Let's get the admin together, quick roundtable meeting, and she'll have the list in a week.
Because a lot of times, even when we close on a deal, I'll take my clients to dinner. We'll celebrate. I've taken clients to Steak 44, and because I think that's way more impactful than a set of Cutco knives or whatever like that, or any sort of closing gift you can come up with. One of my clients, I am going to send them. Have you heard of Sleep 8? Are you familiar with
the bed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to send them one of those.
Why?
Yeah, because I think it's amazing, and they don't have one. I'm not going to send them.
I thought they were like, oh man, I'm having a hard time.
No, I'm not going to send them the entire bed. I'm going to send them the mattress cover, which is still
like the chili pad.
Correct.
Yes.
It's amazing. My wife and I, we have it. It's the only way to sleep.
Yes.
And I'm going to send this to them because I know, number one, they'll always appreciate it. I think everyone.
Every time they go to bed.
And every time they'll go to bed, they'll be like, thank Josh.
Or every time they wake up.
Every time they wake up.
Such a good night's sleep.
I'll be
call Josh.
Last thing on their mind and the first thing on their mind every single day.
That's awesome.
And they're awesome people. Like it's something that I just want to do for them. But
there's certain gifts like that are like memorable things like that. And I love
100%.
doing the personal dinner. One of my agents waits 3 weeks before doing a custom like package of things they know that the client really likes, but hand delivers it 3 weeks later. So now the dust is settled, all this stuff. So it's more memorable and packed. They drive to the house so they can see what they've done to the house.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
We, for the longest time, and this was awesome, we loved it. We would send a crystal vase from Tiffany's to our clients. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and maybe it was around COVID time, but out of nowhere, Tiffany's stopped having vases. Like they literally just like went, and it went to like, the vase went from, I don't know, we'd probably spend a couple $100s on it to like a couple $1,000s. Like they got rid of, basically, it was only like super high-end vases, but we'd send them Tiffany's, like a really nice big Tiffany's vase.
Nice.
And so it would come in the mail, and then it would, the Tiffany's packaging. So it's like, the blue box with the ribbon on it, and just, it's such a production. And they open it up and has that beautiful vase in there. And then they take the vase, and then we send them flowers. Then a couple days later.
Wow.
So they've got the flowers to put into the vase. And then the idea was that on every anniversary of their home closing, we'd send them flowers too. And what other thing are they going to put them in? They're going to grab that vase and they're going to put them in there. And so, we did that forever. And then Tiffany's got rid of their vase, and we were like, what do we do now? Like, and there wasn't another vase and presentation out there that compared to, the whole experience that Tiffany provided in that box.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, that went away. But then we started implementing like, okay, well, then we're going to take everyone out to dinner or lunch or whatever they can do.
Yeah, that's cool. So let's talk about the next thing is events. Okay. Because if you're already, you're going to add some calls into your thing, but you're already mailing them, you're emailing them, they're getting touches, they're on your Facebook. But what about, have you ever thought about, or have you ever done like bigger events? Like, you see the movie event or the pie parties and...
So we, as a team, because we run our team a little bit different. Our team runs more of like a team ridge, and then instead of like a 50-50 team where the team leader's looking over, each team member's shoulders, making sure they're doing everything. So we have not put together any like past client big events like this. I mean, certainly Morgan and I could do it potentially for all of our past clients. We've thought about it.
What kept you from doing it?
I think what's kept us from doing it is every client is so different and unique. And maybe what we've made up in our heads, which is probably not true, is that since everyone has different personalities, that maybe they just wouldn't get along. And maybe it would be, and once again, and not even so much get along, it's just that it might be awkward for people if we brought a totally random group of people together, and the only thing that they had in common is that we were their real estate agent.
Yeah.
And so
maybe that's why my movie theaters work well, because they're coming for the movie, not to mingle.
And the movie is going on for 2 hours, and it's in the dark, and so they're not having
they're
to
coming because they liked the movie. I told them like I'm doing Moana.
Okay.
Well, half my database is like, that's childish, I'm not going. Yeah. Thanks for the invite, though. Like, I'm just top of mind.
Sure.
But the other ones are like, oh, my God, that'd be awesome. I get to go to a free movie.
Yeah.
It's one of the newer ones. Or when we did Star Wars, I had to get 2 theaters because it sold out so fast. But there's still some people that didn't want to go to Star Wars.
Sure.
Right? It's okay.
Yeah.
I just invited people, though.
I guess I'm thinking about if it's the event, like if your doctor or your lawyer invited you to an event, would you go?
So I had a doctor invite me to a sneaker party.
Yeah, we both have the white shoes on.
He's like, hey, I got the guy. They're coming in with like custom sneakers. I know you like the Nikes. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy like $4,000 shoes. But he's like, but if you want to come, I'm like, yeah, I'll come.
Yeah.
It was a doctor. So to your point, yes.
Yeah.
But if he had said, hey man, I'm just gathering some people together, I'd probably be like, I don't think so. Like you and I would probably, because it's a sales opportunity. Yeah, the doctor's inviting other people for me to network with, but my normal clients, no.
Yeah, it would have to be an event, because like some people do that car club, right? Where they like, there's agents out there that will do, hey, we're hosting this big, car event.
Yeah.
Bring your luxury car and show up, or your sports car, and basically everyone can kind of show off their cars, right? Mm-hmm. But if you weren't in
a niche group,
it worked for a niche group. If you're not into cars and you really don't care, you don't have a luxury vehicle, then you probably won't go.
Yeah.
Same thing with the movie. So I think for us, maybe it was more about, just the reluctance of doing it in the sense that we were fearful that either people would come and not really totally enjoy it, or that maybe people wouldn't show up. Maybe we'd spend all this time and energy and money on putting together this big event, and then people wouldn't show up for it. So
I got another story for that, but I'll tell you later.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
My first movie theater event.
Yeah. So I think that's just our own kind of, ideas in our head, that there's maybe better ways to spend our time and energy than to be planning like these big events.
Well, yes, but what if it was simple? What if it wasn't complicated?
I love the idea about the taco event.
Yes,
that you were mentioning.
Yeah, well, when you tie it into like Salt River Fields is right here, and they always do those food truck things.
Yeah,
and so I'll say, hey, client, who wants to come on Saturday and meet me there? I'll buy the tickets.
Yep.
First 500 that reply, first 50 that reply, whatever. And then we end up meeting them at like 9 o'clock. We hang out. Now that we have the office closer here, I can say, hey, meet at my office.
Yeah.
And we'll all hang out here, and then we'll all drive over there.
Yeah.
I'm not hanging out with them a lot.
Yeah.
They're not mingling together, but they got the tickets from me. They got an invite from me, even if they didn't come and accept the ticket.
Yeah.
And we're now top of mind for a little while longer.
Yeah. See, I think that's great. One of the events that I really wanted to do, and we have not done it because, I don't know if my wife would be on board with it, but is doing like a Christmas party that's for your clients.
I like that.
To where you host it like we would host it at our house, so the client could come to our house, and it's more intimate. It's not like it's at a restaurant or somewhere else. So it also keeps the cost down a little bit, but it still would be catered. You'd have either a food truck or have someone come in and prepare food. And just doing a Christmas party because, the energy is usually good around that time of year. Everyone's in the holiday spirit.
That'd be pretty cool.
You could invite a lot of people, and it wouldn't necessarily just have to be clients. It could be friends, family members, whatever. Yeah. And just invite everyone there. And then, God forbid, no clients show up. At least you have a bunch of people there.
Food.
It wouldn't be a fail. It wouldn't be a total complete failure. But at the same time, I think our clients do want to know more about us.
Yeah. If you made a strategic list of maybe the top 20 people you'd invite,
sure,
and do that. Yeah. We have the I'll give you the contact. We have the hibachi guy.
Okay.
That shows up and does the teppanyaki at your house. It's great.
Yeah, nice.
They bring
we go to Kasai quite a bit.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, but it's like we don't have to go there anymore. They could just come to us.
They just come to you. Yeah. That's a great idea. Even the pie event, you've seen people do that. They'll come to your office, but it's a great call time for your team to get them. But the whole purpose of it is just, hey, what's another way to stay in relationship with my database?
Sure.
Otherwise, I'm just a transactional agent that gave them the keys and said, hey, good luck. I'm your guy. I'm never too busy for a referral. Take care.
Yep.
And then if I never fortune in the follow-up after, then I was just transactional.
100%. And I think going back to the events, I think are great. Some of the pie stuff, the reason why we didn't do like the pies, or even like there's some Popeyes, people do like the little Popeyes. I think it's great because you get right in front of them again. But when we first partnered up, Morgan and I, like one of the first things we were like, we don't want to be those agents that send the recipes every month. There's those real estate agents and they send a recipe every month. And which once again, there's lots of agents that do it. It's super successful. It works, but we didn't want to be those agents because we looked at maybe our profession as online on par with like a doctor, a lawyer, someone who's giving you advice. And we always want to kind of stay away from anything that we thought might be a little too cheesy, I guess. And once again, not to offend anyone out there that does it, because I think that it can be super successful. It's
what's on brand for you?
Wait, what's that?
Like what's on brand?
Correct. What's on brand for us? And when we felt like it just didn't maybe align with the brand, I guess was the only thing.
Yeah.
So
as we talk about this database and we can finish with this, is the reason I'm so focused right now is because I think there's going to be a lot of move up opportunity
100%.
in the market with the rates coming down. Right. Yep. We see them dipping down. I think people were not going to move from 3 to 7 and 8%. It's just a lot. And even though we could have made some sense of some of it, they'll move from 3 to 5.
Yep.
And I think there'll be maybe slightly more inventory come to market because they make the move and they would sell that house.
Yep.
But I also think that they would keep that house because of the low payment.
Oh, yeah.
Rent it out, use the equity to go buy something bigger for themselves. If they can figure that out, better to accumulate wealth and have two of the properties and grow their total net worth than dump one and go buy another one.
Yep.
So there's so many options, but I think those options are becoming more available, and those are your clients that are sitting there at 3 going,
Sure.
Maybe I should make a move. Or, hey, I saw that Fed thing. Maybe now is the time, honey. Or I feel like I've been in jail living in this house at 3%, not being able to move because everything was at 7%.
Oh, yeah.
And now I can go.
Oh, yeah. We are literally having this conversation with our clients every single day. And we are telling them, you cannot sell your house. Like, I know my job is to sell your house, and I would love to make a commission, and I really appreciate it. But like, as your advocate, I cannot allow you to sell that house because you have a 3% interest rate unless you absolutely need the equity or you absolutely do not want to be a landlord whatsoever. Like, those are 2 great reasons to sell. Yeah. Otherwise, if you don't need the equity and you can get over being a landlord, then let's keep the house. I tell them,
you'll thank me in 10 years.
You will thank me. We will have this conversation. We'll pop a bottle of champagne here in 10, 20, 30 years, and you will be so happy that you kept that house. And this is one of the best ways to grow wealth. And so as much as I would love to sell, or to sell their home and make a commission off of it, I just can't in my right mind allow them to do that.
I love that attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, from the point of view of not like, yeah, great, let's sell it because I want to make some money.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's more like, hey, let's check out the best option for you
100%.
To see if it makes sense. Because if it does, like you said, in 10, 15 years, you're going to thank me that you kept that house.
And I tell them, I'm like, look, there's multiple ways where you can keep this house and still access the equity, And so let's not just selling the house. Like, let's let that be the last, line of defense.
Yes.
That's the last option. Let's start with all these other options first. And if we get through all of them and we just can't make it work to where you can actually keep the home and buy something else, then we'll explore selling it. Yeah. Yeah. Sell it. Like, I can always sell it for you.
With equity comes options,
and you can always be a landlord for a year. And after a year, you realize that you just don't want to do it. Great. I can sell it at that point in time. In fact,
probably have even more
you'll have more equity. It'll probably go up another 4 or 5%, so let's
power real estate.
Yeah.
So what you've seen over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah. I had one of our coaches, he told us, gosh, probably 5 years ago, he's like, no one has ever looked back 30 years later and said, oh my God, I'm so glad I sold that house.
Oh my gosh.
Right? No one has ever said, those words have never come out of any person's mouth.
Most sellers say my number one regret was selling that.
Correct. If you look back, I mean, I even remember looking back at like my grandpa's house and what he paid for it and then what it was worth when, we eventually sold it. And you're like, how the heck did this house, grow that much in equity? I bought a house in 2009 and that house is like tripled in value. And I would have never in a million years ever thought this house would be worth close to like $1 million. And I paid $320,000 for it.
Here we are.
And I cannot believe it. I look at it every day and go, there's no way this is worth $1 million. Like,
that's crazy.
But the fact that people would pay $1 million for it.
The market dictates the value.
Sure. And so I am just so glad that I did not sell that house.
Yeah.
And I will continue to acquire.
How many more can I get?
As many homes as I possibly can, knowing that this will continue to build my wealth and ultimately allow me to retire at some point in time.
What a legacy.
It's a legacy to them, and hopefully they don't ever have to sell the homes. And sure, is getting those phone calls of, hey, this is broken or that's broken or this is leaking, right?
Part of the gig.
It's part of the gig, but at the same time, at least I'm getting those phone calls, meaning that I have an asset that's going up in value.
Right.
It's not like I'm getting a call from my mechanic that's telling me that my car is leaking oil or whatever like that. That's a depreciating act. Yeah. So yes, we are having those conversations with our clients right now.
And that's where it's going.
Yeah.
Well, dude, this has been fun. I could sit here for another hour.
Oh, I know. This has been great.
Great. I'll definitely have you on again.
Yeah. And like I said, definitely bring Morgan in here.
I will.
And he'll love to sit here and chat with you too.
That'd be fun. Dude, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.